Hey everybody, so we're back. This is part four, and we're talking about the broken hostage story that I've been writing with a co author. And I think we left off just after the capture, right? Now, bear in mind that, again, these are, you know, anywhere from 3 to 6,000 words apiece. So this is a very long story, and I'm simplifying it down into 10 minutes, which doesn't do it justice at all. But really, what I'm trying to do is just give you an overview of what the story is about and what are some of the things that I'm dealing with and some of the ways that I'm going about things. So in this one, we're going to talk a little bit about the cabin, where it's located, and what kind of research went into that. Having this camera up top like that, it's up. I have it up, so I keep having to look up. It's a very awkward thing. Maybe I'll bring it down. But if you see me looking away from the camera, that's why. It's like I'm constantly looking up. Um, so, assuming that the microphone holds out, basically, once he got her into another state, which took several hours to do, he took her into Idaho, I believe, and up into the mountain region. And once he got up there, he had this small little rundown cabin that he had renovated. And, he put a potato sack or a rut sack on her head and brought her into this cabin and then took her into the basement. Now, the basement plays a really, really heavy role in everything that's happening. So, what happened first was, he has these, well, the whole upstairs has been renovated, and it's not a very large cabin. One bedroom, no real fireplace, kind of out in the middle of nowhere, about six plus miles out into the forested area. Once she gets there and he takes her into the basement, there's this. I did some research on kind of creepy basements that would be effective, and there's this image that I just really liked about this creepy basement. It's unfinished, it's got dirty stairs, it's got a rotten old bed sitting against the wall. So that's what he that's what I went for, right? This really thin, rotten old bed down in a basement, dark and dank, cold, right? It's really cold. And he had hooked up a shackle, kind of like a medieval shackle, to the wall, and he hooked that up to her ankle. Now at this point, she's still clothed. Everything's pretty much normal, and he's tossed her onto the mattress. There's no brutality or anything. Just kind of leaves her down there, and he leaves her down there for quite a while, a few days, in fact. I went into some detail about the chain being super thick and the not having a lot of length to it, and how it was bolted into the wall, the lock being another heavy duty lock, and then he leaves her down there with this whole concept that dinner and lunch and breakfast and these kind of things, they're all privileges that she'll need to earn in time. She added a nice dark twist to what her character was going through and what it was like to experience this kind of horror. And then we get back into more of him jogging and learning the area, getting more into it. One of the things that makes this particular story unique is that there's a lot of theme music and a lot of photos being used. I wanted it to come off more like one of those adventure stories or audible books that have noises and songs and things like that. Really kind of get you into the mood of the setting that I'm trying to present. And the co-author has really embraced this also. So once you go about his life, I go about describing the cabin a little bit more, and I go about describing the area a little more. And he leaves her down there for I don't know, several days without feeding, without interacting, just darkness. She's just in there in darkness. There are no windows in the basement. There's nothing really to really interact with. Just this bed, this old nasty wool blanket, and she's just left down there. And this kind of led into the next part, which is, if you remember from the prior videos, he had this doll, this what was it? It's not latex, it's silicone. He had this silicone doll that he considered his friend, and this was a large turning point for him because he takes the doll and all the photos out into the forest, and he buries them. And when he buried the doll, he kind of considered it killing Ollie, and this was his only true friend. But he didn't see that he didn't need Ollie anymore now that he had Ophelia officially, and it would just be time before she really started to come around to his way of thinking. Now, what really starts getting interesting is these deals that he starts making with her. Once she was hungry enough, it started coming to, what would you not do for food, right? So it started simple enough, give me your shirt, give me your bra, and I'll feed you today. Give me this, and I'll feed you today. And once she got hungry enough, I mean, if she refused, as the co-author very easily could have just said, like, no, my character would rather starve to death. And you think that, but if you really think about it, would you starve to death for a shirt? Would you be willing to do that? I know I wouldn't. I'd totally take off my shirt to get rid of those hunger pains. It's only so long before you just don't give a damn. You just need food. So he started with this whole concept of deals. And once he had her more or less stripped down, he moved on to more complicated deals, which were, give me a hug or give me a kiss and I'll feed you. And these later became rules, right? If you ever want to eat, you'll always hug and kiss me, and then you'll get your food. Otherwise, you're not going to get it. So that's kind of where this went, and it stayed that way for a while. Now, there was no real brutality at this point, just the fear of brutality, just the fear that he would do so. So that it hadn't really happened yet. And it's more establishing that he's living his life normally. He's not constantly interacting with her. He's not constantly staying down there with her. And he hasn't ravished her or raped her at this point. He hasn't done anything other than continue these deals that he was making with her. And these deals have gradually become more and more claiming to her. But eventually, that leads into a much darker aspect of things, and we'll get into that a little bit more in the next video, when he really starts messing with her mind a bit and twisting things around for her logic, and again leaving her alone for weeks at a time while he keeps her locked in this basement, considering he believes that she's at a war with herself, that she has a war with herself. Her body and her mind are fighting one another, that her heart wants him, but her mind is preventing her from doing that. So that's kind of something that he believes, and he's ingrained into his delusions. But like I said, we'll get into that more with the next video. Hopefully this helped explain a little bit more about this basement, which you'll find out more about. This basement is kind of a horror aspect of the whole thing. I mean, really just pure darkness, cold, and so forth. So we'll get into that later. Alrighty then, I'll see you in the next video.